Welcome, everybody, to the Bry Samua Show. I'm Bry,
And that's a lot.
and we really appreciate you being here. If you wouldn't mind taking a minute to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, we would appreciate it. We're trying to grow our audience, and we appreciate any help that you can provide us. So thank you. Welcome.
Make sure you share, check out past episodes. Guarantee you find something. We share lots of topics, everything from prepping for races to family issues to addiction, even last episode.
Yeah.
Do we love New Year's resolutions or not? Which, by the way, I did a poll on my story, and one person out of 8 was like, yes, I like New Year's resolutions.
Well, we don't know who they are. We're not going to, we're probably not friends with them. Okay.
No. I was a little bit surprised. I thought it would have been closer to 50-50, or
Yeah.
maybe 60% wouldn't have liked it, 40 would have, but no, it was
It was,
easy that most people don't like them.
all right. Well, maybe they'll start doing what you do and on your birthday.
I think people just think about it
Yeah.
the wrong way, like you said. You know,
Mhm.
it's like it's a good reset, it's a good time to game plan, and then, but don't like do it all or nothing. Like
Right.
you don't hit the mark, take a breather, get back.
You got it. You got it. All right. Well, that's a good poll. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Huh. Okay. Well, good to know. No more New Year's resolutions for us.
yeah.
I don't need them. I don't need them. So,
I kind of wish we could do music right now,
right.
because I feel like right now all that comes to mind based on the topic that we're going to be discussing is salt and pepper. Do you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about sense, baby.
Mm-mm.
Let's
Okay.
talk about you and me. And now we lost all of our audience because I was.
You did good. I thought that was well, we hit on it last episode. Towards the end, we started talking about it. And we thought, you know what? After we were finished, we thought that would be a good episode to talk about.
I mean, we're grown women.
Mhm.
And well, even when I was talking to my husband and got his permission, like, is it okay if I share our Disney challenge if it comes up?
Right.
And and I remember, I forget how I was wording it, discussing, but I'm like, because it's like appropriate. But we're two grown adults who are married. Why is anything that we do
Inappropriate.
unless it's like involving other people or something crazy? But we're not exposing ourselves to anybody, whatever. It's like, why is anything we're doing? Because the other reason what made me think about that was, this is what I was telling him, which has been a topic that I think is worthy to discuss in the culture, especially in my side of the bubble of things, being a parent
Right.
and having kids and a marriage in that sense, because the dynamic is mostly talked about. Even when I sit there and my guys at Little Gym and these women are having conversations, it's like, oh man, like so not my reality, but it is the majority of people's of things. But I remember a few years ago, I think it was before I had Mariah, but I was at a dance competition. And for this one, my husband wasn't with me. And I was sitting waiting for our kids to I think it was Naomi, waiting for her to go on stage. And so usually I would sit in the audience 5, 6 numbers out. And so I'm just sitting there waiting. I don't know these kids that are performing. And he and I were texting, and somewhere on the line, one of us made a flirty comment. And the text, went into that direction. And I sent him, like, it was inappropriate, but it wasn't. I'm texting my husband.
Right.
But what made me think about it was the seats were kind of bleacher seats, at an incline. And I was sitting towards the middle. So there was a couple people and there was people all around me. And I kind of was just holding my phone like this. And it halfway through our texting, I was like, oh shoot, like maybe people behind me, if they're being nosy, could read what I'm
Right.
and I just chuckled to myself, like, whatever. But then my next thought was, the sad thing is that I bet you that if most people did see my text, they would have assumed I was having an affair and not that I was texting my husband.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's just the circle of people that I am around. But I do feel like that is a thing, right? You get married and then you get comfortable, complacent.
Yeah.
Like,
And you don't send those text messages anymore.
yeah.
And if you do, the husband's like, what are you doing? You
Well, the
know?
funny thing is for me, because I was sexually abused as a child, as a teenager, multiple times, different people. And so for me, that was always a weird
Yeah.
thing.
Sure.
I never fully addressed that in a therapy setting or anything, just kind of figured things out as I went along. And then my mom was, and again, out of the Christian church. So we all know the church is very taboo.
Right.
You don't talk about sex. You don't talk about the realities that this is just what my body does scientifically. Like,
Yeah.
you can want to say that it's sinful, whatever you want. And obviously I have to control things, but also I'm not initiating anything. My body is, responding to things because
You got it.
I did it. Um, but in the church, it was always very taboo,
Mhm.
even within like the confinements of marriage,
Right.
And so I kind of just grew up with that, and my first marriage was very contractual. Is that the right word? Um, you know, so then it became whether I wanted it to or not. It just did become a tool to be used
Sure.
from either side. So
Which makes it not fun anymore because now it's you're doing it because this is something that you wanted or needed or they wanted or needed, and you're making an agreement as opposed to it just happening naturally, which is what should happen.
yeah, so even as a
Yeah.
late teenager, early adult, even before getting married, I never really texted or talked that way to anybody.
Yeah.
And then, but with my husband now, just the nature of our relationship, it's just something that happens naturally. Like I don't
Right.
plan like right now when I was at that dance competition, like, we were talking about something dumb.
And it just kind of fell into
Yeah.
it.
And then we were talking about whatever with the kids and logistics or something, just casual. But then some little comment was made that usually it's me that will make some funny little joke, that then puts us into that.
And then it just keeps going back.
Yeah.
But think about it. How many times does that happen where maybe somebody does that and the other person doesn't respond? Because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we're getting off topic here because it feels uncomfortable or unnatural or it feels taboo, right? I shouldn't be doing this, but it's your wife or your husband. Why not?
And you also remember, because my brain remembers really random things. Years ago, I remember you telling me that you got a text.
Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. It was so weird. I'm sitting there minding my own business. And all of a sudden I get a text from somebody I work with. And it was a picture of something I did not need to see. And apparently it was supposed to be going to somebody else. And we never spoke about it.
Funniest part, you never even was like, "Oh, right, by the way."
I just ignored it. She ignored it. We saw each other the next day and I was just, good morning. She's like, good morning. And we sat right next to each other.
Oh my god.
Like
She never brought it up.
neither one of us did.
See, she can unsend a text, right? Thank God
Hmm.
Apple text you, they can do
Hmm.
that.
Oh no, there it was in all its glory. And it was so uncomfortable for a week. And then finally I just forgot about it. I thought, oh my goodness. Yeah, something else. But yeah, so yeah, that was one of those, oops, I shouldn't have sent that thing. Or the other thing I thought about is I wonder if she just never realized that she sent it and didn't even know. And I was sort of like, my eyes are burning.
But then I remember you also commented that you felt like, I don't think
I don't think it was for her husband.
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, maybe it was. And I was just misunderstood,
Yeah.
I could have totally misunderstood it. But my first thought was no, it wasn't for her husband, which I think is a problem because why couldn't it have been? You know?
Yeah, why would you automatically assume it's not? Like, that
Yeah.
would be a problem, but then it goes back to what I was talking about, like, that dynamic, right? That right now in our culture, for as long as I can remember, I mean, I remember being a kid and being around adults, and they would make these little comments or innuendos, but it didn't go over my head because I was a nosy kid. Where the joke is, "You have sex on your birthday,"
Right, right, right.
"It's Christmas," or "It's Valentine's Day."
Right.
And even statistically, when you look at calendars, right? Like 9 months after Valentine's Day, like, that's a surge in
Lots of babies. Yeah.
but why is that? Because now as a 43-year-old woman, I almost said 42 because I don't know why. Since I turned 43, I keep forgetting that that's how old I am. No, yeah, because it's only this.
Oh no.
I am only 43 still. Um, who's married? It's just like where I am now with my sex life, it is way more vibrant than it ever was
Yeah.
like as a teen as I shouldn't have been having sex as a teenager. Unfortunately, I did, but even as a young adult, and,
Hmm.
I just looked at sex so differently, and it did. A lot of it had to do with both my baggage that came around that,
Right.
dealing with the sexual abuse, and then the church, mindset of it. Because I remember struggling with this thought a little bit too, like, being a kid, and I was 10, 11. Like, I was when the peak of it happened a couple different times, but the worst was between 10 and 13, and it was, like, 3 or 4 different people, in different scenarios, not at the same time or anything like that. But I just remember at times, like, I'm freezing, obviously, because I'm this 10-year-old, this adult male. but then my body was responding in the way it's meant to, and I
Mhm.
remember feeling so I don't even I don't guilty isn't even the right word,
Yeah.
but it's like, no, like, it's betraying me, like,
Uh,
I was frozen, I felt horrified, I was scared, I didn't want that, I didn't do anything to, like, welcome it, but then at the same time, my body is responding in a positive way, and then with the church comment, it just was
I can't imagine.
even though my first husband knew about that history, he didn't care to help in any way with it. And as long as like I was fine and it did, it became very contractual because it was
Yeah.
like, oh, you're an asshole to me when we don't have sex. So I guess, like I'm just gonna make sure that I do. I wasn't the one that was trying to manipulate him, but I also wanted peace, in my marriage. And then it became and then it became this thing where it's like, let me track how often oh man, we're getting on day 4. So by day 7, he becomes this over. So let me make sure we
Yeah.
now. And then it got to the point where different issues that came up. I remember coming home after having Joelle and him making the comment to me 3rd day home, you know, "I know you can't have sex for 40 days, but you better think of something because I'm like, I need my thing." And I just looked at him and I was like, "For all I care, you can go find yourself a partner too."
Right.
Because at that point, our marriage was basically done already. And I was just,
I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah.
um, but it was I remember going, starting my divorce process and especially again in my head what I was being told. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. My youngest at the time was 5. I had a daughter with special needs. Yeah, only a psycho is gonna wanna volunteer for that, and so I don't wanna be with a psycho, so I'm probably just gonna be single for a very long time, if not forever. And I remember thinking, "Yeah, I'm fine if I don't have sex." Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just never fulfilled me. Like,
Right.
I would hear some women talking about it, and to me, it's like, "Really? Do you really enjoy sex that much?" Because to me, it kind of did nothing for a long
Right. Well, you didn't know the right person.
Right.
And I think that's the key. It's like the right person has to be that person that's willing to meet you halfway. They can't always be the one demanding to be fulfilled because if they are, then that's all you're doing. You're just working it and you're not really getting anything in response. Right. And so it's got to be the right person. It's got to be the right time. And, I was married before, same thing. It just wasn't fulfilling and it wasn't fun and it became contractual. I would agree with you. I think maybe along the same lines, feeling like, oh, I better do it because, it's been so many days or weeks or whatever, or else there's going to be a problem. And that is just a horrible way to look at it. It's a horrible way to look at it. And when I was single, it became difficult because again, of the way that the church would look at things. You're single, you can't really have sex till you're married. I didn't follow that, but but it didn't mean that it didn't impact me to think I'm being bad. I'm being bad. I shouldn't be doing this, but I did. And then you feel guilty. And then it's just a whole mind game that I think it plays with you. It's crazy when you think about it.
Yes. My husband and I now, the first night that we were together when we started dating, and we have been dating for a few at the time. Same thing, right? Coming out of the church, I was still trying to stay connected to the church at that point, even though they ended up, that's another episode, but
Yeah.
really frustrated with how they handled a bunch of things. Yeah, our first time was like over 3 hours.
Hmm.
And it was just like, oh, this can go more than like 15 minutes.
Five.
Okay. Um, and yeah, and it became for the first time ever in my life, and at that point I was, mid-30s, I had a sex drive.
Yeah.
Like I just never again, I know that part of it wasn't necessarily just my first marriage and the toxicity and issues there. It had to do with my baggage too, but I think a lot of it had to do like, with my husband now. Like the way he handles things, it really is like, I'm not wanting anything from you.
Right.
And so from my perspective, it wasn't ever let me do this so that you do this or you don't do this.
It's not a contract anymore,
Yeah.
not negotiation tool.
Think that changed everything. And then, I remember being in a dance competition and this woman that I was sharing a room and we were kind of friends at the time. That relationship fizzled quickly. But I remember one time we were talking about relationships or something. My husband and I at that point had been dating for about 2 years. He had moved in and maybe about a year or so at that point. And I remember her making the comment, whatever we were talking about, it must have been something to do with relationships and sex and stuff. Cause like, oh yeah, you guys are still in the sex is still good stage.
Oh
And it's like,
gosh.
why does it have to go bad?
Yeah.
And why do we accept it as a culture and society?
They talk about the honeymoon phase, and that's supposed to be, "Oh, okay, haha," and everybody accepts it. Why do they accept it?
Why?
Why? I don't know.
We have six kids now.
Yeah,
We had 5 kids for a hot minute. So, I mean, when my husband jumped in, like, we had 4 kids. We
right,
had this psycho ex that's constantly adding stress and all this court drama and,
and your business.
business and
Mhm.
buying the building, and at no point did it I mean, like, our our sex life is close to now to what it always has been. We've had some bumps in the road. We've worked, from relationship stuff that then makes us feel disconnected.
Right.
But that's the thing too, I think. It's like we work on being connected in so many different areas that just comes out of that versus I think a lot of marriages that's not there.
Yeah,
And then they're disconnected because, they're each in their own little bubble for different reasons, especially if you have children.
right.
And then they try to use not necessarily try to use it, but then sex and men and women do need sex differently, right? Like for my husband, that is how he feels connected. And for me, it's I feel connected, then it makes me really horny for him.
Yeah.
But and so it is having both. It's an and
Mhm.
both, right? Because if only one of us was getting the thing, but because we are connected and he is so genuine in the ways that he shows that a lot, that then it makes me feel connected, so it's this yin and yang and circle that
Well,
what came
yeah.
first, chicken or the egg, I don't know.
When you think about it, though, God made couples to have sex. So why is it so taboo? It doesn't make any sense to me because he created those parts and he wants you to have kids and he wants you to have sex. And so to me, I'm thinking, okay, so if God thinks it's okay, then why is it such a taboo subject and why do people are so uncomfortable talking about it?
Now, putting you on the spot here, I'll try to like this. Being a little bit older, how does that change things, if it changes anything at all? Because I mean, from the guy's perspective, right? Like Hefner got
Oh yeah, they can keep going.
temptation. And then obviously there's Viagra and other things now that make sure that the guys keep going. That's not necessarily a good option because if you need Viagra, then there's bigger problems.
Exactly.
Find a good functional medicine doctor to help you out. But anyways, I don't know. Putting you on the spot. If you don't want to answer it, don't. But
No, I think as you get older, I think there are a lot of things that start to come into play physically first that you've got to think about, right? And then I think you do kind of think, oh, we can do it next week or whatever, right? And so I think it is a more of a connection as far as maybe thinking about it a little bit more and making it a priority. I think that's the key word is priority,
yeah.
you know? And if you're not making it a priority, what's getting in your way that's so important that that's not a priority for you anymore?
But besides, okay, I have a couple questions that pops out of that. Making it a priority. Does that then make it feel like it's forced?
Not
My husband
really. Yeah.
says he and his wife made a deal and it's every other day.
Yeah. No, no, no.
Then I know somebody else, and I don't know if this is still the case because this was years ago, but she used to go to the church I used to go to, and for her it was I don't know if they did it every day or if she felt that her husband was making the move, she would never say no to him. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't
That's not healthy.
either. Yeah, so like
I would just say though, you get so caught up in things and other things start taking priority and you've just got to remove those things so that you've got the time and you've got the opportunity, right? And I think that sometimes can get into play where, like for Brad and I, he was downstairs watching TV. So we weren't together. And I think that became a barrier for us.
it's easy to just disconnect.
Right. Because I think it's the connection piece of it, right? And so it's A, recognizing that and B, making a change and not just ignoring it or just getting so mad that you're just, oh, hey, whatever. That's what and people do that too. They're like, well, they don't want it. So I'm just going to just ignore it. You can't ignore it. You've got to address it and you've got to find a way to make that connection happen. And I think that's the key piece of it. And the conversation, really, the open communication has to be there too. I think sometimes that shuts down because people get hurt by it. You know, I've seen women get hurt, men get hurt, and then they just don't want to talk about it anymore because they feel like either A, they've talked it to death and nothing's changed, or B, they don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed, and they don't want to bring it up or they don't want, I don't know. I see so many people talk about things and it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I think I remember to another couple that used to be in our small group actually. And I don't know if you were already in the small group when we were doing this, but we were doing a marriage, book thing, Christian based, and whatever it was, sex was one of the topics. And anytime, especially from the Christian perspective, that you have any conversation about sex, it is always implied that the men is who want it way more and need it way more.
Yeah.
And then the women are there to somewhat be along for the ride, pun intended,
Yeah.
and maybe enjoy it or not, maybe want it or not. But there's always the assumption that, like, men pay attention because your husbands need this, which is true. They obviously have most often a more of a drive for whatever reason. And I remember sitting around discussing this chapter, and one of our members who I'm still friends with and talk to, and I actually shared this story with her a couple years ago. I'm like, this happened 12 years ago. But I still have this conversation. Like, actually come to mind often. Because at the time, like I said, I mean, sex was always for me, take it or leave it.
Right.
And it really was not in a sense that I was trying to be manipulative, but just in the context of this
Keeping the
conversation
peace.
where,
Mhm.
like it's always driven to be like, and as a teenager, right? Like women give sex to get love and men give love to get sex, right? Definitely that was the reality for me, intentional or not, even with other boyfriends and stuff. And I remember her sharing how this is frustrating because they always assume the guy wants it more, but there are times that it's the girls that want it more. And she was
Mhm.
sharing how when she had kids, it was hard for her to wait the 40 days. And I remember sitting on my couch and being like, really, I'm calling bullshit. Because I just couldn't relate to that
Right, right.
ever since. And like I said, she and I still connect now, like
Yeah.
we're in each other's lives now. And then I remember like once I was in that mode where I was, no matter how tired I was, I mean, for the first 2 years after my divorce, I was getting up at 4 in the morning to go clean a dance studio. I was going to bed at 11. I'm home by myself with these 4 kids, blah, blah, blah. But once, I would go hang out when Leo and I were dating and we could be together.
Right.
Normally was so sleep deprived, but it didn't matter. It's like,
Right, right.
I want you. Like, this is
Mhm.
what I want to be doing. And I finally got a chance to tell her because we were having a conversation about something else at a moment, not because like I see her at school or whatever. It was at a moment where it was like, I just gotta tell you that all these years you have come to mind so many times, like now that
Right.
it's this marriage. Because do you remember? And she remembered it, and she just laughed about it because I'm like, I literally sat there and was like, I call bullshit. There's no way. Like like she's just trying to be cute. Like, no, but now I get it. You're right. Not that I want it more than my husband, but just like that concept of like, women can have a sex drive too and be aggressive.
Did you ask her if she still feels that way
Um,
all those years later?
a little bit, but there is an explanation and stuff. Like,
Got it. Okay.
so,
Yeah.
like a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. And I think it's sad. And I do think, this is a bit of a conversation, but again, I think the church just drops the ball in the way that, and because so many people, both Catholic, but if it's a Christian denomination, whether it's Catholic
Mhm.
or like Protestant Christians, the way that it's presented, and it is meant to be, like you said, such a vital portion of our
Yep.
relationship that it actually is detrimental. And I think, especially the way that often like there's a book called like Her Needs, His Needs. There's another book that I read by like Shawnee, somebody I think was her name, and it was like what a man really wants or something. And these are all Christian based authors, and they were always presented as women. This is what your husband needs. So just make sure that like if you're going to be a good wife, like this is what you're doing. And they don't present it from, well, the women actually need it too,
Right.
and would be way more involved and desiring things if the men, because in my perspective, the Bible puts it there that the men should lead, and the church is great at talking about how the men should lead when it comes to
Right.
and controlling things, but this is where they should lead too, because then if they're doing the caring and the thoughtfulness and the nurturing correctly,
Right.
then you don't have to have a conversation about how often men and husbands and
Right.
have sex. Because again, like outside of a handful of times where different circumstances have caused a disconnect between my husband and I outside of the bedroom that affected that drive for me. And a lot of it too had to do with it triggering some of the past things for me.
Sure.
I don't think there's ever a moment in our relationship that anybody would have a conversation with my husband and he'd be like, like, "Oh, yeah, like, right now that's a bad day. Like, I'm struggling, like, I need more of that." Like,
Right, right. Well, it's because you guys could talk about it. And it's because you make each other feel safe and comforted. And, you guys just have a good way of connecting with each other and you make it a priority. I love all your date nights.
Yeah.
You've got all these kids, but yet you make date night a priority.
And we do a lot of different things for our
Hmm.
dates. It's not dinner movie or just dinner.
You guys,
And sometimes we do date.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's important. Yeah, I think that's important. And trips. You don't always take the kids on the trips. You guys go for a couple of days someplace just by yourselves. And I think that's huge, especially with children, because if you don't do that, then when are you ever going to have time to be by yourselves and really have that connection and kind of almost say off limits? Let's not talk about the clinic. Let's not talk about the kids. Let's just focus on each other.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And I see you guys doing that a lot, which is really important. Brad and I don't have kids, so we don't have to worry about that because we've got that time. So I think that that's another thing where are you at and what kind of time? So if you're not doing this, you need to probably think about what's getting in your way.
And I think the other aspect of it is just keeping it fresh. Like for some reason, we tend to put things into boxes in these societal and cultural norms. So it's like, oh, once you become a mom, then you stop doing these things. Like I love to go dancing. Like I love to dance. And so it's like, oh, you're a mom now, so you don't go clubbing. Why not? Why can't I
Right.
just go dancing with, my girlfriends or my husband?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. It's, oh, you get married, now sex life gets boring. But why?
Yeah.
Why don't you? Like, whether I was never that person, but it's you and your husband at the beginning of the relationships, you're texting him half naked pictures or whatever, or you're, being flirty. Like, why does
Why
stuff?
does it stop?
And why does it seem like there's this cultural mindset of it becomes appropriate now? Or,
Yeah.
one of our weird, quirky things that, again, going back to our Disney challenge, we just kind of stumbled upon is we'll be in random situations and observing people, and often it's negative interactions. And then we'll have one of us, it's actually usually me, which is kind of ironic because, again, between the church mindset growing up in that, like to me, it was just like missionary position, very boring, um, borderline the whole Irish culture where they put a sheet over you. It's like,
Lights off.
it could have almost been that, right? And now I'm the one that's like, oh, do you think we could pull it off here? Do you
Right.
think we could pull it off doing it there, and
Right.
coming up with these weird little no.
Well, it's a challenge and you're kind of almost like you could get caught. You know what I mean? We could get caught, but it's worth that. It's worth taking the chance because of our connection.
Isn't that funny if we did get caught? So it's like, oh, by the way, but we're actually married for each.
Right. This is not an affair. Because they would immediately think, oh, I'm going to call your spouses. Okay, so his number is, and this is my number. You can call both and we'll both answer.
Yeah. What would be, I have a funny story about what would you share wildest place for you that you ever got first?
That's a good question. I would say, there have been public places, but not Disney, not like that. I would say maybe just someplace in nature. I think that's probably been, being in a park or something like that. That's something that's really pretty nice because it's quiet and yeah.
We just went to see The Secret Agent, this new Brazilian movie that just came out, and it won a whole bunch of Golden Globes, and he just won Best Actor and all that stuff. And Brazilian movies, if you've never seen a Brazilian movie or Brazilian anything, because I remember being a kid watching Brazilian soap operas at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, because Brazilian soap operas are way better than American.
I bet they are.
Because they actually end. A human being does not have to go through their whole life and die and not know what happens to the character that came back to life for the third time. One time, I remember my babysitter, my mom's babysitter, because I didn't, she would babysit the little kids while I was at school, kind of thing. But she used to watch All My Children. And I remember at one point, just sitting there with her, and it's 20th. I'm like, this has been going on for 20 years? Like, what? Brazilian soap operas, it's 2 years, and a half, 2 years. They have an ending.
That's it.
The country shuts down the last 2-3 days.
Oh my gosh.
It's really good soap opera and stuff. But anyways, there's always nudity. And that was the other thing too, which is an interesting dichotomy, because being in the Brazilian culture, being a kid from Brazil, even though I didn't grow up there, since I was 6, but nudity isn't a thing. Naked bodies isn't a thing.
Yeah.
It's not like here. And so, so, I mean, 6 o'clock in the afternoon and there's a soap opera on and everybody's watching it and you see somebody's boobs. And
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. But anyways, a secret agent, there's a spot where they go to a park and the movie shows it and they have everybody's there making out. So you just said it's a quiet spot. There, no, like it's, trios here, you know, a gay guy couple here, two women there. They're all half naked and humping everywhere.
My gosh.
And I'm sure the movie is rated R, but it's also like, in America, that same scene, it'd be like, oh, this is a porn net.
Right. They'd have to cut it out, or they'd have to rate it a certain way and only show it on certain things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, the wildest story is probably we were in Vegas. The irony that our hotel room was right upstairs, but because we were at the casino, hanging out at the not casino, but the resort
Oh, got it. Okay.
was in, right? And we had been dancing and whatever. And again, kind of people watching. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, do you think we can pull it off going somewhere here? And at this point, it's, I don't know, 31 a.m. Like not super late, but not early. So like it was
People stay awake. Yeah. Vegas is different.
So we decide to see if we can pull this off. And so we find a little bit off the beaten path bathroom, no companion bathroom. So we did go in the men's. Dead quiet. It's like corner of this casino away from the main area. Like thought it would be fine, right? So we go in together. He goes in first. There's nobody there. We go in together. Let me tell you, like 2 minutes after, and we're trying to get going, this guy walks in, and we're in the back stall, and there's 3 or 4 stalls. So he goes into the first one, and is there for like 10 minutes.
No.
Taking a dump.
No. Oh, no.
Is this real life right now? Like, I have my feet on the toilet seat, right? So it's my husband's showing, and we're like, is this really happening right now? And we're like, what are the odds that, 1:30 a.m. in the Vegas, random ass, dead part of the resort, area.
I was going to say once he was gone, but still, that's a memory. It's a memory.
So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic.
We'd love to hear from all of you. Is there anything you'd add to this? Because it is a taboo thing. And I think in the United States, you're right. Because I went to Europe and they were like, I don't know why you guys are so uptight. Because it's just not that way in other countries.
Did you hear all the buzz around Taylor Swift's song, The Wood?
Yes, I heard about that. Yes.
Such a fun song. Like, we're not picture like the beat of it. It's like
Yeah.
coming to this at a club, and then it's
right.
Like, oh, wait, she's talking about Travis's
Yeah.
part. Which is funny, but I'm totally being judgmental. I also couldn't picture him being all that she's.
I know, right? I would agree with you. He's a football dude.
But and I didn't like. I've heard the song. It's a fun song, and I didn't like see it. But I'm not. I like her songs. I think her songs are fun and catchy. I wouldn't say I'm a Swift.
Right.
One of the funny things that came out of that was his brother, because they had a podcast together.
Yeah.
Song comes out, and Travis, I think, in the episode was trying to play dumb, like he didn't know, like, what are you talking about?
What song?
I made some comment. Yeah, I'm not a redwood. I'm like, I think that's what it is. You compare some sort of redwood or something. Like I'm more like a Chinese maple. But yeah, I mean, it just makes me sad.
Yeah, it does.
Having lived both sides of it now.
Yeah.
Having been the person that I would have just stayed in that marriage. I would have continued to have that type of a sex life and had thought that was
it.
Maybe even a little bit better than normal, because we had a couple friends that we can joke, like, even when they were only slightly older than me and my kiddos were 5. So this was like 15 years ago. They were already sleeping in separate bedrooms and,
Yeah.
it literally was, oh, it is his birthday. So I guess he's getting lucky today kind of thing. I think that's sad. And I would love to see that change. But I do think it starts from the emotional and relational aspect of things.
I would agree.
For me is what makes
to make it acceptable, to make it not anything that's taboo that you can't talk to your friends about, and be able to just spill and have some fun with it and joke around with it like Kelsey's did, they made fun of it.
Because I guess then the brother, is it Jason? That's the brother's name?
Yes.
His wife then came back and tweeted or posted or something about, well, I love Chinese maples.
And they can take it and run with it and have some fun with it, right? I love it. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. Well, this was a good episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things.
That's like,
yeah.
follow up, pick our brains or some more if you want any more information on this topic, but also whichever side of the equation you find yourself
Yeah.
on, we would love to hear from you and just talk it through, have a conversation about it, and
Yep.
hopefully inspire and or help a lot of
Agree.
people.
Agree. Well, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all the sharing. I hope I shared enough, but maybe I'm just a little uncomfortable. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm working on it, but maybe just a little bit.
I mean, if 15 years ago somebody had told me the experiences that I have now had with my husband, that
Yeah, yeah,
I would have thought,
whatever.
like, I would have considered, I think even some of my friends compared to my high school friends, like I was the prude,
Yeah, yeah,
and I really was.
that's crazy.
I think the time I was telling my kids this because it came up, and they were younger than me, but not like 5. They were, I don't know, I think like teens. Um, but the whole number 69.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I was like 17 when I found out what that.
And they were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, today, it is very different today.
Yeah.
It's a lot more challenging, I think, for kids too to kind of maneuver through some of that stuff. So that's another topic, I think, for another day, especially since you've got kids that are a little older. It'd be interesting to see what their perspective is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, join us next time
We'll see you again. And remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends, and please come back again. We'll look forward to seeing you.
on your toes with our.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to go. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.